Christmas was falling down all over the street. Snow and cheer covered a city populated in jovial personality. The blanket of snow lay softly frozen over the yards where children shuffled in thick layers of clothing and caution, both given by their parents. Carolers sang glad tidings of cheer that permeated every inch of air until the neighborhoods were alive with the spirit of celebration. Each home was decorated with a prism of glimmering lights and seasonally themed casts of reindeer and jolly fat men. The engulfing conformity of the suburbs was tantalizing, so uniform and secure. Christmas had hit in full effect, bringing all the pleasantries one would expect of the season. Crisp air bit with a modest chill, and soft snow fell over the streets. Carolers could be heard in concert in various neighborhoods, carolers of bells and herald angels singing. Children graced the yards of many homes, building faulty snowmen and carrying out clamorous snowball fights against neighborhood factions of peers. Down an obtusely normal arrangement of homes, there was a yard with a happy little boy, waddling around in knee-high snow piles. 908 Del Sur Street. He played and sang and jumped for joy with the alabaster flurry. He glanced back to the front porch, smiling and laughing to get the attention of his older brother, who stood painful watch over his sibling. The young man was a bit different from the most of his peers. While everyone else was bundled from head to toe in thick sweaters and coats, he was dressed in a t-shirt, jeans, and boots. A worn mahogany rosary coiled and dangled around his wrist. His eyes radiated cold fire, and the light brown pools gazed off into the lawn as if it was some living abyss. His fingers had been caught in some performative seizure, tapping out a melody he had never heard before. This was Gabriel Flores. He was 19 years old. His hobbies were painting, guitar, and long naps. He worked at a music store that was only about 3 miles away. It was an okay job, and he didn't mind it. He would have actually preferred to have been there right now, but his boss decided to send everyone home as an early Christmas gift. So now, he was at home at 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve, watching his younger brother play in the snow. "Gabe, come play. Don't you like snow?" sang his little brother. Gabriel called down from the porch, and his scornful tone leapt forward like a breath of flame. "No, I don't." He quickly motioned to pick up his book, and he set it up on the side of the table, paired with a mug of hot chocolate. He had grown tired of this chore and stood to collect everything as he opened the screen door and turned to call out to his brother. "Come in with me, monster." He tapped the book against the house to get his brother's attention. He didn't wait for him, placing the book down on the table next to the door and walking with heavy feet past the kitchen. He caught his mother's attention as she was taking a glass dish from the oven. "You don't have to be so brief with him," she called to him with an outstretched hand, hinting for a hug. Gabe paused for a moment. He took in the environment of the holiday around him. The Christmas tree, fully stocked with bells, angels, and streamers, headed an all-star cast of decorations all throughout the house. Presents lay in anxious wait under the evergreen. He leaned in to hug his mother and felt the warmth of the kitchen settled into her clothes. He pulled his stance closer to her, now allowing his height to tower over her fully. The sound of the front door slamming shut and young feet running through the front room broke the moment. The little boy, Emil, crashed into them and shared the hug. Their mother held tightly to Gabriel, anticipating his flight from the moment, and kissed both of her sons on the forehead before her older son's flight up to his room. The door to his room slammed, and lights were flipped on and illuminated the means to his freedom, as if illuminated by a divine hand. It was his guitar. An electric crimson Gibson guitar. Gabriel's grasp was forceful, arresting, and secure. He pulled a chain from his neck, revealing a plastic marbled pick from his shirt. He nestled the guitar close to his body, allowing his hands to move around the instrument and feeling out soft notes and chords. His closed eyes watched the mood and stirred the music through his fingers and into his instrument. What began as a smooth melody churned and erupted into a powerful set of riffs. His eyes came alive with passion and a haunting smile crept across his face. His music washed over the house and met his mother, Alicia's ears. She was a different kind of woman. How most mothers would have been quick to send signals to lower the volume of his song. She embraced his passions and encouraged his volume with her silence against it. He was happy, and so was the rest of the house. So as the song wound down and the guitar fell quiet again, he picked up that mug of barely warm hot chocolate and softly marched down to the kitchen to be with his mother and brother again. He tapped open the door to the microwave and placed the mug on the revolving glass plate. Emil's little feet pranced along the scuffed wooden floors. He presented a cup of his own hot chocolate, still steaming and fresh. "Me too, please." Gabe opened his mouth to refuse, but he saw the look in his brother's eyes and the smile on his face that said he just wanted to be included. "Sure. Give it here, monster." They both stood there, watching the microwave as their mugs spun, and Emil even called out to his brother to stop the microwave before it beeped. They both celebrated as Gabriel's finger stopped the timer before it hit 0. Emil's little voice gleefully bounced around the room in a joy-filled giggle. He showed a full mouth of baby teeth and empty spaces with his laughter. "Be careful with it, monster. Don't burn your tongue," cautioned Gabe. Their mom called out from the living room. "Get a few sips and go wash up for dinner, Emil." The boys glanced over to the oven and nodded at each other as they took in the beautiful smells of dinner. Their mother could see them as she pulled her tired legs up under the blanket of the couch. She held her own mug of hot chocolate, fresh, and only pulled from the microwave a few minutes ago. She called over Gabriel, motioning for him to come over to her, sit down to watch television. Gabriel quickly complied, throwing himself down at the opposite end of the couch with his mug glued to his lips. The woman kicked at her son, a smile across her face and her mug being put to the side of the table. "Thank you so much for spending time with him today. You don't know how much that matters to both of us." Her voice was sweet and sincere. "I know it hadn't been easy." Gabriel clicked his tongue and motioned to stop her. He was stopped, though, his dismissal dismissed, and the wave of his hand settled with an even more seasoned wave from his mother. "It shouldn't be easy." Her eyes moved across the room, stopping on family photos and certain ornaments on the tree. "He would have loved this, you know." Gabe pushed his fingers into his hair and slumped his weight to the side. "He always loved this kind of stuff. The snow, the songs and stuff." He picked up an ornament that hadn't been put on the tree from the side table. "He would have been out there with Emil, right next to him in the snow." They both laughed softly. Their humor was tinted in a murky sorrow that they'd been carefully wading through. "And that's why I want to thank you." Alicia set her mug down as she rose to her feet. "This thing that we're feeling now, you spending that time with your brother today, it kept him from having to feel it too." Gabriel moved from the couch, continuing the conversation while his little brother was washing up for dinner. "It's not that much of a bother. I was able to do some reading while he played." She chuckled as she slid oven mitts onto her hands and brought her dish out of the heat. "You're really talented, son." What are you going to do with your gift? She placed the dish on the table and raised the foil from the top, allowing the aromas of baked chicken and vegetables to fill the room. I hadn't really thought of it, he groaned as he shrugged his shoulders. His mother's eyes grew wide in disbelief. You need to put some thought into it. She placed a mitted hand on his shoulder before walking off to the counter behind him. What was that song you were playing earlier? It was nice. Gabriel shrugged again and smiled nervously. I don't know, really. I've been hearing it in my head for a while now. The conversation was cut short by Emil, bounding down the stairs and crashing softly into his chair at the table. I see someone else is hungry, laughed Alicia. One day, you two boys should cook for your mother. Change things up a bit. Dinner was brief for them as a family, mostly because Gabriel ate so quickly and excused himself from the table. His heavy boots struck the stairs in a hurry, stopping at his room and coming straight back down. This time, he was holding his guitar and had a scarf and beanie to keep him warm. I promised Casey I'd come over and play for a bit before it gets too late. He'd only stopped for a moment of approval from his mom before running off and down the street a few houses down. Casey's mom, Novelette, greeted him with a sigh and an eye roll. She knew what the boys were going to be doing, and she also knew that her house was about to get a lot louder. She welcomed the young man in and offered him a warm drink. He accepted it, grabbing the cup with a chilled hand before going back to the garage where Casey was waiting. He was a charmingly odd guy. His coarse hair twisted into short, dangling braids that were capped in beads and shells. His skin was a deep brown, almost a pitch shade of mahogany. He loomed at the back end of the garage like some all-seeing tower and began to saunter out as soon as he saw his friend. His long fingers pitched up and down the neck of his guitar, a hot pink Gibson, littered with stickers and decorations. His eyes watched Gabe through a veil of hair as a high whining vibrato punctured his terminal chords. Gabriel responded with a burst of notes from the song he'd been playing over and over in his head. Casey interjected with a harsh screech from the neck of his instrument and shook his head no. Bring something new tonight, huh? He wound his fingers in tight formations and croaked the beginning of a song out into the air. He began to play a song from the video game they loved to play, Midnight Carnival. A large smile erupted across his face as he bit his lip playfully. Gabriel responded with a second of gruffness before he found the right notes. They took turns and played in tandem, moving about the song, challenging each other to improvise and make the song a bit more of their own. It must have been the shrill notes from Casey's guitar that brought Novelette to the garage door, though. The young man could tell by the look on her face that their time was up already. They each threw her a playful smile and ran over to hug her before Gabriel was sent back down the street with a heavy plate of Novelette's chocolate cake. She knew everyone in his house loved her cakes and always made enough to send back home with them. The walk back, although brief, was so much emptier than it was before. It seemed as if all the playing children from a few hours ago had long been recalled to their homes, and not even their footprints had been left to keep him company as he shuffled back down the street. He listened to the snow packing underneath his own steps and stopped in the middle of the sidewalk to observe the lights that decorated his neighbors' homes. He was mesmerized by the way they blinked and flashed in rhythmic cadences. His dad really would have loved this. He then noticed the flickering streetlights above him. It seemed a little odd, but insignificant. He continued to walk, and soon he could see his own yard. There seemed to be something there. Some mass of black, some breathing, growing, and writhing mass of darkness. now turning a set of piercing eyes towards him.